This has trap game written all over it. Number 3 Texas A&M, undefeated, heading into a night game in Death Valley to take on number 20 LSU. Will the Tigers finally wake up and hand the Aggies their first loss of the season, or will A&M continue to roll, move to 8-0, and get themselves one step closer to the college football playoff? That is what we're here to answer today. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. So glad you could join us. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to our expert picks, which are some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. You do not want to miss out on those. We're beating out over 80% of the national handicappers, have done so each of the last 6 years, doing so now. So if you want to win big with us, the link for it right below, thegridironexpert.com. Let's start winning big. All right, let's look into this. I look at A&M, right? They're 7-0. I still, the jury for me is still out on A&M, right? I can't decide. They're a good team. They're winning games, but they're a few plays away from not even being in this discussion, right? They only beat Notre Dame by 1. They only beat Auburn by 6. They only beat Arkansas by 3. It's concerning, I think. They've only beat one ranked team so far. That was Notre Dame back in, week 2? They're winning games as they should. It's what good teams do. But again, they're a few plays away from being a maybe 3-loss team. LSU, what a disappointment they've been. They were a team that many thought could make the college football playoff. They are a team that I think everybody was high on, including myself, following their win over Clemson in week 1. But they've just been very disappointing. Now taking their second loss of the year, lost at home to Ole Miss, or lost on the road, I should say, to Ole Miss, and then lost on the road to Vanderbilt this last weekend, which I think was the final straw for a lot of fans down in Baton Rouge. And certainly will be if they lose this game at home to the Aggies. But as we know, night games in Death Valley, crazy things happen. It's one of the most difficult environments in all of college football. Maybe Brian Kelly has one big trick left up his sleeve. We'll start with A&M, though. This offense, they're averaging 464 yards per game, and they are very, very balanced. 267 through the air, 196.7 on the ground. They can do it both ways, right? They can beat you to the air, they can beat you on the ground, and they can beat you on the ground with their quarterback as well, and Marcel Reed, who's just been phenomenal this year. Over 1,700 yards, 15 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. Had a dang near perfect day last week against Arkansas, which maybe isn't saying too much considering how bad Arkansas's defense is. But 280 yards and 3 touchdowns, no turnovers last week in Fayetteville. Very, very impressive. He's got some speedy wide receivers at his disposal, right? Mario Craver has been phenomenal. Leading receiver with over 668 yards. Casey Concepcion has over 500 yards already. This is an A&M team that has the size, has the talent, has the speed, has the great decision-making to go all the way to the playoff this year and is a true national title contender. The offensive line is opening up holes for their running game. They're protecting Reed. They've only given up 7 sacks all year long. Ruben Owens is averaging 5.7 yards per carry. This is a team that, really can do it all. And if I'm Mike Elko coming into Death Valley, my goal is to try to come in here and establish the run. Establish the run. Take some of the weight off of Marcel Reed in an environment like this. And get going on the ground. It obviously will open up the pass later on. And if you just have a couple design QB runs for Reed, that would go a long way as well, because you got to keep this LSU defense on their toes. The LSU defense isn't terrible. We'll talk about that in a second, but they can be exploited on the ground, and that's what A&M needs to do. My only concern for A&M right now is their ability to sustain drives, right? They're only converting on 39.1% of their third downs. 39.1% third down conversion rate. Not that great. To win this game in this environment, you need to sustain drives. You need to hold on to the ball for as long as you can. Not that LSU's offense is any good, but you don't want to give them that many opportunities. You got to find a way to get in the end zone, guys. You got to find a way to get yourself in scoring position. That's going to be converting on third downs, and A&M has not been that great at doing that. So that's the biggest interesting part I'm watching out for, is how do they do on the big downs. And if they get far behind the chains, it's 3rd 6, 3rd 7, 3rd 8. Can A&M convert those? That's what I'm watching out for here. LSU, their offense, I think the best word is disappointing. It's lackluster. I'm dumbfounded at how bad they've been, right? We thought this was going to be one of the better offenses in the nation. You returned one of the best quarterbacks in the nation in Garrett Nussmeier. You got yourself some wide receiver help. And this looked like a good offense. And they're only averaging 366 yards per game. That's 82nd in the nation. They're averaging just 112 rushing yards per game. The running game's non-existent. It really does not exist at all. So it's pretty much all on Garrett Nussmeier, and he hasn't even been that great. Only 1,600 yards, 11 touchdowns, 5 picks. There were 7 games into the season. Their leading receiver is Aaron Anderson, who only has 323 reception yards and no touchdowns. Again, their leading receiver, again, only 323. This team mustered just 325 yards last week against Vanderbilt, only 24 points against Vanderbilt. LSU's offense has eclipsed 24 points one time this year. That was against Southeast Louisiana. It's the only time they've eclipsed 24. They can't score. They can't run. They're pretty much one-dimensional. And even this one-dimensional passing attack that we thought was going to be so great really hasn't been that good. It's dumbfounding how much they have struggled, and it's concerning. And you can't help but wonder, I mean, they haven't found a way to fix it. You thought, week 1 against Clemson, they didn't look that great. Okay, well, that was Clemson on the road. Clemson's good. Obviously, they're not, but we thought that at the time. Florida, you forced 5 interceptions and you only mustered 20 points. South Carolina, you forced 3 interceptions, only mustered 20 points. They can't get in the end zone. That's really, really concerning. Maybe being back at home under the lights will spark something in them. But this A&M defense is nothing to frown about, right? Mike Elko's a defensive mastermind. We know this. That's his side of the ball that he's mastered. 327 yards per game, all A&M's given up. Now, last week against Arkansas, they were heavily exploited. Granted, Arkansas is horrendous defense. Arkansas is 11 points away from being 6-1. So I think the Hogs get a bad rap because of their record, but they have one of the best offenses in the nation. And that Arkansas offense put up 268 rushing yards on this A&M defense and had, 259 through the air? I look at LSU. I don't think their rushing game is going to have themselves a day. I don't think this, of all games, is going to be the time that LSU's running game wakes up and has a day against this A&M front seven. Don't think it's going to happen. But maybe it's a game where Garrett Nussmeier wakes up. Maybe it's a game where the passing game wakes up. Because A&M hasn't been great in the secondary. 259 passing yards last week allowed to Arkansas, 245 to Florida, 291 to Notre Dame. So against some of the better teams they've played, and even though Florida and Arkansas aren't that great, they have been exploited in the passing game. It has been shown that A&M can let up a lot of yards, that they can let up a lot of points. So if you're A&M, if I'm Mike Elko, I'm coming into this game saying, look, I'm not that worried about LSU's running game, so I am putting a heavy emphasis on our secondary. I am putting a heavy emphasis on stopping Garrett Nussmeier, stopping this passing attack. If LSU breaks off a 20, 25-yard run every now and then, okay, so be it. They're not going to torch us for 268 like Arkansas did. That's just not going to happen. Focus on stopping the pass, getting after Garrett Nussmeier. That is the biggest thing. Allow a big run here and there, sure. LSU won't be able to sustain that. LSU, their defense, for the most part, is doing their job. And that's what I think has made this year so frustrating. A year where they had playoff aspirations with a veteran quarterback, a defense that looked legit, a defense that currently ranks 26th in the nation, allowing just 311 yards per game, only 189 through the air, only 122 on the ground. Like, they're doing their job, and the offense isn't helping them. And I think that's what's so frustrating. It's like the talent's there. It just had it all come together. Last week for the Tigers, they gave up nearly 400 yards to Vanderbilt. In previous years, you'd say that's horrendous. In a year where Vanderbilt is now a top 10 team in the country and boasts Diego Pavia, I say, okay, that's understandable. But they gave up 239 rushing yards in that game. That's not acceptable. That's not good. 239 rushing yards in that game. And if you look at the numbers, LSU has been torched on the ground quite a bit. 239 to Vandy, 166 to Ole Miss, 193 to South Carolina. The running defense hasn't been there. It hasn't been that great. And again, if South Carolina was a little bit better, if Florida was maybe a little bit better, teams like that, LSU could be a 3, 4, 5 loss team, right? Not just a 2-loss team where their hopes still are slightly alive. But if you're LSU coming into this game, you've got to stop the run. In some of the biggest games this year, you've been torched. You could not stop a mobile quarterback in Diego Pavia. They really didn't allow Trinidad Chambliss to run that much on them when they lost to Ole Miss, but they allowed everybody else to run on them, and then allowed Chambliss to throw for 314 yards. They're inconsistent. And A&M's got the speed at wide receiver and the weapons to really exploit this LSU defense. And so if you're Brian Kelly, I don't know what you do, truly. I think you focus on stopping the run, because we mentioned Ruben Owens is averaging nearly 6 yards per carry. We've seen them get exploited multiple times this year on the ground, including last week. I think A&M, as we mentioned, is going to try to come in here and establish a run with their running backs and with Marcel Reed. So I think if you're Brian Kelly, you say, focus on that, focus on stopping them, focus on forcing Reed to throw only, contain him to the pocket. And then let's hope our secondary, that's been, for the most part, pretty decent, with the exception maybe that Ole Miss game, Hope our secondary that's giving up less than 200 passing yards per game can do their job, limit the big plays, maybe force a turnover or two, and let's see if our offense can convert off of that. They've struggled doing that against Carolina and Florida and guys like that, but maybe this is the turning point. So that's what I think you got to do if you're LSU. It's an interesting game. It's tough because I think A&M's worthy of their ranking. They're a dang good football team, but they have some weaknesses. LSU, simply put, isn't that good. They aren't that good. And that's disappointing because the talent's there. 9 times out of 10, I typically would side with the home team, and I would side with LSU at night in Death Valley. But the Tigers have given me no confidence and have shown me nothing to believe that they can win this game. It's a low spread. Maybe they pull off the upset. But A&M has got the defense that can do it. LSU does not have the offense at all. I think that's the biggest thing for me. I have not seen enough from LSU's offense to instill confidence in me to be a top 3 team in A&M that has been firing at all cylinder offensively, and defensively for the most part this year has been pretty dang good. So maybe the night game in Death Valley helps. Maybe that's enough to spark it. But I look at A&M, they've got everything to play for. Undefeated, playoff hopes, everything. LSU hung over after a bad loss on the road against Vanderbilt. Not because Vanderbilt's a bad team, but because it was a game they felt they should have won. A game they were favored in. A game that from LSU standards is one they should win. They didn't. You got 2 losses now. The only way you can keep your playoff hopes alive is by winning out. You got A&M left. You got Alabama left. You got Oklahoma left. It's not going to happen. No, I feel like LSU, down on their luck, the inability to score. Again, they only have 2 wins by more than 10 points. One of them was against Louisiana Tech. One of them against Southeast Louisiana. I just don't believe the Tigers have it in them or have the capability to beat A&M and to hang with them for a full 60 minutes. Give me the Aggies to come on the road to Baton Rouge, win this game, go to 8-0, and again, get one step closer. 2/3 of the way through the season, they are one step closer to making the college football playoff, and a win here might fully solidify it. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com. It's home to our expert picks. Some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. You know the drill by now. We're beating out over 80% of the national handicappers. Have done so each of the last 6 years. So if you want to win big with us, this is the place for you. Links down in the description. Become a member of our GE Nation today. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.